Hi, you join me on today's video at Bowness on Solway at the start of an 84-mile journey as we follow Hadrians Wall from here on the west coast on the Solway estuary all the way across to the east coast of England to the Tyne and my hometown of Wallsend. Join me. Now, as usual in Cumbria, it's been raining. It's today's it's the end of April, but it's been it's that period of change in Cumbria between the bright days of almost summer and the bitterly cold, wet days almost of winter. We have both sometimes inside the same day. In fact, we've had it today. But we're here on Solway estuary. As I say, across the other side of the water, you'll see Scotland behind me. But this is the start of a wall which was originally kept as a military wall to try and keep the Scots and the English apart in the early part of the 1st century. But eventually what it actually became was something of a trading post, and it became a trading post for many centuries after that, building up trade between England and Scotland. But it also has stories of wars, of civil war between England and Scotland. It's got stories of kings and queens. It's got stories of all sorts as we go along. So enjoy the journey as we go. Hello there, Brian James, that Micro Four Thirds guy, with another video. And this time we again visit Hadrians Wall, but this time at the very start at Bowness on Solway. Now, as usual, please take time to hit the subscribe button below to see all my future videos, along with the bell icon if you want to be notified every time I release a new one. Remember, it costs you nothing. And if you can give a thumbs up below to like the video, then that really helps to get YouTube to promote it to other people so they can enjoy the heritage of Northern England and Southern Scotland through the lens of a local photographer. And furthermore, if you'd like to buy me a coffee by making a donation on my PayPal account, I'd really appreciate it. The link's underneath, by the way. I don't get paid for making these videos, and I'm not sponsored either. So put the link down and drop me a comment as well just to say hello. We start our journey overlooking the Solway estuary on the English side of the border between England and Scotland. I'm at Bowness on Solway at the extreme west of Hadrians Wall, construction of which began 19 centuries ago in AD 122. Although the fortifications continued along the coastline all the way down to Ravensglass. There's not a lot of wall to see here, for not a lot, really none actually. And even if you were to be looking at the wall, they were mainly earthen banks rather than stone at this stretch. The wall, which stretches 84 miles from Bowness on Solway to Wallsend, is a World Heritage Site and actively preserved now, although as we'll see in other videos it was actively demolished in its history. Bowness sits on the banks of the Solway coast, itself classed as an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's 12.5 miles from the city of Carlisle and 55 miles from Ravensglass and 1150 miles from Rome in Italy. As I look to the west, I see the last remnants of the railway viaduct, which was opened in 1869 to connect England and Asia. However, it was also open to damage from floating ice sheets and was closed in 1921 after an awful lot of maintenance issues. Now all that remains are the shore embankments. Bowness is a small village of narrow streets, a world away from its sibling on the east coast in the heart of industry and manufacture at Wallsend. Walking out from Bowness, we follow alongside the Solway estuary. Prone to frequent flooding, this is a bare and barren place. The road is typically Roman, being dead straight and true. This makes the walk along particularly tiring as it never seems to have an end, and the perception is of a total lack of progress until a sudden rush as you approach the next village, which in this case is Port Carlisle. Originally known as Fisher's Cross, it changed its name when it became the terminus of the Carlisle Canal. It was a port of importance until the building of the much larger docks at Silloth and the demise of the canal, although it did continue for some time as a port for the railway. But the railway service closed in 1932. Back onto the walk again, we pass through the tiny village of Drumborough. Then after 5 miles, we reach Bowstead Hill, Now, Bowstead obviously has a strong connection to this area, as Carlisle has an area known as Bowstead's Grassing, but I'm struggling to research the history of the name. Perhaps you know. If so, please leave a comment below. I'd really appreciate that. I'm around halfway along today's journey as I head towards its end at Beaumont. Over in the distance on the Scottish horizon, it's easy to see both the decommissioned nuclear power station and the new style windmills which dominate the skyline. It's difficult to believe that some 1,900 years ago, garrisons of Roman soldiers looked over this same view, admittedly without the modern buildings on the other side of the estuary, that is. Eventually I reached Burgh-by-Sands, and on the village green just beside the Greyhound Inn is a statue depicting Edward I of England, known as the Hammer of the Scots, who died through illness while preparing to battle with the Scots army of Robert the Bruce on the 7th of July 1307. You may recall from my video on Lanarkos Priory that Edward was a frequent visitor to the area in defence of the borderlands. There's a link above to that video. His body is laid to rest in a little church in the village. Not many small villages can claim to be the last resting place of an English king. And so, I take time out to look around this 12th century Norman period church. It's built on the former site of a Roman fort of Abalava, and at the end of the Roman Empire in AD 410, it was home to the Celtic monastic saints Patrick, Columba, Kentigern, Aidan and Cuthbert, who are credited with bringing Christianity to the area in the period AD 400 to 700. The building itself is of typical Norman design with a square tower and a low, squat church area. Like most of the churches of the time, it was built not only as a place of worship, but of defence too, so the walls are strong and solid. Like many of the buildings of the area, stone from Hadrian's wall was actually taken to build the fortified West Tower. It was used as a refuge for the border reivers or raiders, who continued to plunder between the 13th and 16th centuries. As I show a few more photos of the Church of St Michael, a little about the equipment I'm using today. I didn't want to carry my full pack, so I picked up my Lumix GX8 and two lenses. The Olympus 17mm f1.8, which seems to be my total favourite at the moment, and the Lumix 12-60 f3.5 to 5.6, although I shot the intro on the G9 with a 17mm. I wanted to have something adaptable without being too heavy or awkward to carry, and the GX8 with a zoom was ideal. The 17mm sitting spare in my pocket most of the time, oh and of course a spare battery too. Have a look above for the link to my GX8 review. It really is a superb little camera. Back onto the footpath which runs along the back of the village and away from the road toward my final destination, St Mary's Church at Beaumont. We're only about 4 miles from Carlisle now. I wanted to stop here as this is the only church actually built on the path of the wall, and to be honest there's not much between here and Carlisle anymore because of development. It's mainly flat fields. The site was originally that of an 11th century Norman motte and bailey, or better known as a castle on a mound in a courtyard. The bailey included the area which is now the village green. The site was originally that of a Roman mile castle, but in the late 13th century the church was built, again using pilfered stone from the remains of the wall. The church was extensively repaired and altered in 1784, 1872 and 1888, and structurally strengthened in as recently as 2006. St Mary's at Beaumont retains many early features, giving historical depth to a church whose first recorded rector was Sir Elias de Thirlwell in 1296. Again, like the church of Burgh-by-Sands, the building was built as one of defence as well as worship. Its elevated site giving a distinct advantage when under attack. Well, time to finish my journey for today and pack the camera away while you see a few more shots of this lovely little church. Once again, the little Micro Four Thirds system has been a joy to use with its lightweight and compact size. My intention is to cover the whole of the 84-mile journey over the coming months in readiness for the 1900th anniversary next year of Hadrian beginning construction of his wall in AD 122. I'd love to have you join me. If so, then why not have a look below the video where you'll see the subscribe link. Please click it to see more of my videos, and if you click on the bell symbol beside it, you'll receive notifications whenever I post something new. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything to do. While there, if you click the thumbs up to like the video, it tells YouTube to promote it to more people so they'll get the opportunity to see some North of England and South Scotland's amazing heritage through the eyes of a local photographer. I don't get paid for these, so if you get the chance, have a look in the description below. There's a PayPal link. Give me enough for a cup of coffee, it really would be appreciated. It helps to pay for a little bit of the fuel to get out to these places. And it means so much to me on that as well. And finally, drop me a comment. I love reading your comments. It's thoroughly enjoyable to see what you think of these. And I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.